How to use the ATTINY85 microcontroller. What is it? The ATTINY85 is an 8-pin standalone microcontroller. Give it some power and it will start running the program that we stored in its memory. An ATTINY85 is basically an extremely stripped down version of an Arduino, with little I/O pins and also very limited memory, but it sure is small. What can it do? Decorative light. With a few resistors and LEDs we can do some lighting sequences. Analog to PWM. We can have the ATTINY read an analog voltage from this potentiometer and then convert it into a PWM signal to control a servo motor. Load timer with status. We have a motor run for a specific amount of time and then idle for another amount of time. Great for watering your plants. Cutoff for battery. The ATTINY can monitor a battery and cut off a load when battery voltage becomes too low. Pinout. The IC has a NOT set at top, so you know which way is north when looking at the diagram for the IC. It has a power pin at the top right and a ground pin at the bottom left, like most chips do. Then there is a reset pin at the top left, which we should leave alone until we really need the extra pin. We can do digital input and output with pins 2, 3, 5, 6 and 7. Analog input can be done on pins 2, 3 and 7. And finally PWM output, available on pins 2, 3, 5 and 6. Datasheet. Let's have a quick look at some useful sections in the datasheet. Right off the bat we can see there are 3 versions of this IC, with 2, 4 or 8 kilobytes of flash memory. That's where we store the programs that run on the IC. Each chip also has a different amount of EEPROM memory. These are the voltage ranges needed for the IC to run properly. The pinout diagram with for each pin a list of possible functions for that pin. Then we have a short pin description. Please note the section on the reset pin. I prefer to leave that pin alone if possible. And there is also a reference to page 60, where we can find more information on the other pin functions. Let's go there. You see, each pin has multiple possible functions. Documentation gets more in-depth the further we scroll down the datasheet. How to program. A regular Arduino has a USB to serial interface and a custom bootloader. These two combined form a microcontroller programmer built in with the board. But the ATTINY does not have those parts, so we need an external programmer. Like this one. Or this. Or we can use the programmer on an Arduino we already have. This is the Arduino IDE, free software to use within the Arduino ecosystem. Step 1. First we open the Arduino ISP example sketch and upload that to our regular Arduino. Please also take note of the reset pin definition. Step 2. We connect the programmer to the microcontroller by the following pins: VCC, ground, SCK, MESO, MOSE. You can look up the pinouts of both the Arduino and the ATTINY to find where the wires should go. Finally, pin 10 from the Arduino to the reset pin of the target. Step 3. Now with this new custom programmer we just made, we have to tell the Arduino IDE to use it. Please note the programmer is called Arduino ISP with a space in between. Step 4. Because we want to program the ATTINY and the ATTINY is not an Arduino, the IDE by default will not know what it is. So we have to do something called adding a board URL. Quite standard procedure, you just have to know the URL to add. Then import the board. Step 5. Now open the blink example sketch and define the LED built-in to be 3. That's digital port BB3 on pin 2, the pin we will put an LED on later. Now upload the sketch onto the ATTINY. How to connect? Please do yourself a favor and own more than one breadboard. That makes life a lot simpler. I hook up a LED to pin 2. And then we add power to the power pins. And there we have it, a blinking LED to indicate the microcontroller is running its code. Thank you for watching.